All right, should be live. It's been a second since I've streamed, so I had to remember how to do it. Yeah, but we should be good. Just getting things set up here, and I need to share out that I'm doing this. Dun, 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 dun. Right, gonna be sharing some RSC stuff today, but just trying to get some things set up. So I should probably make sure that this is actually working. And I can share my screen because I'm just posting stuff right now. There we go. Post those, make sure that this thing is live as well. That looks like my face. All right, we'll share. I'm gonna do Discord off screen. All right, cool. I think that's everything, and then do not disturb. Okay, cool. So what I want to do today, hey Mark, yeah, Mark probably knows more about RSC than I do, and I don't know any questions you have about APIs. We'll see, but I'm just messing with this, so I don't know if I'm gonna have super great opinions or whatever. But yeah, have to hear your thoughts. So yeah, in case somehow you missed it and you're on this stream, which would be surprising, React Router, we have, thank you, new hat, new swag. React Router, we have the an RC preview for React Router, which is super exciting. But yeah, before we get to that, just quick plug. If you want to get this hat, you can go buy it right here. You can go buy this hat, and you can enjoy it and you can wear it all you want. So all right, that's that. Okay, so we've added a preview to React Router with RSC for RC React Server Components. So we have kind of two repos you can look at. One is this experimental parcel React Router starter, quite a name. So this is a good one to look at. It's like a very simple setup, but with React Router React Server Components. And then you'll notice that it's not in there. Where is it? This dot parcel LRC. Okay, it extends that. Yeah, I haven't messed with this enough, but we're gonna figure it out. But I'm not gonna play with this one. It's very simple. We're gonna actually play with Ryan's little movie demo and try and get it running and just see, yeah, see what we can mess with. If you want to mess with the real production version of this, I think that, yeah, it's here. How do I get the URL of this thing? Whatever, I think it's in the blog post, so we're just gonna click on that. If you just want to see the live demo, here's the live demo. It's not perfect by any means. This is still like experimental, and so yeah, I'm sure things won't be perfect, but basically it's just like a little fake, movie app, so you can navigate around. So that's very normal and not that exciting. But what is exciting or what is fun is the way certain interactions work. Like your add to favorites, and then you've got multiple things loading. Like Puss in Boots is loading in two different places. If you've got like a big page with a bunch of stars, information about those stars are like deduped and whatnot. So we're going to be walking through how each of those work and kind of figuring it out ourselves because I've read the blog, but I wanted to dive into the code myself and I just haven't done that yet. So yeah. That's what we're gonna do. All right, so it's in Jacob's repos is what I just saw. Yeah, that would make sense. The parcel extension. Yeah, this parcel config React Router experimental. That would make sense that it would be in Jacob's stuff here. 414 repos. That's a lot of repos. I think it's actually, I think it was that top one. Parcel plugin React router. I'm pretty sure this is what we're using. So we'll be moving this into the React router repo. But yeah, this is just kind of the start. And the reason we're using Parcel, we talk about a bit at the end. If you're kind of confused, you're like, I thought you guys were using Vite. This is kind of the story of that. So we are going to, we're waiting for RSC to be supported by Vite directly. And so Hiroshi's one of the kind of Vite developers. He's working on that. He's got a lot of public stuff he's been doing. And then I think this PR is probably the one you actually really want to see, where they're trying to add this React server DOM Vite package to React, to the React repo. This is kind of the way to do it. So it's looking good. Looks like they're making progress. There seems to be a lot of back and forth. 2 days ago, right, there's a big comment and whatnot and some changes. So this is good. So when they have support for it, when Vite has support for it, that's going to be what allows us to have direct Vite support. So right now we're using Parcel because it already has RSC support. And so we're using that to like kind of button some pieces up, but you can learn all the details about that by reading the blog post and then digging more into the code. I'm probably not going to be digging into that. I'm more going to be digging into the actual implementation of all this. Okay, great. So I want to clone this. This is how we're going to get it started. Let me make sure I don't have anything open. Yeah, can close all the tabs I have open. We're just going to put this on my desktop so I can delete it later. Oh man, I think you have to, okay, cool. That was jittering for a second. All right, we're going to open this up. And let's just make sure there's nothing in the README. Oh, there isn't even a README. Great, nice, good job. Good job, Ryan. No README. All right, so let's just try, I think it was pnpm. Yeah, let's try pnpm install. There's a workspace in here. Oh, okay, interesting. I think, whatever, that doesn't matter. All right, so we should just have, we have a build, we have a clean, we have a dev, we have a start, so we're just going to be running dev. We're not really too worried about building this or anything. All right, so this looks like it's going, which is good. Yay, all right, we have it locally, which is great. And then I can do all the things. I can add stuff to favorites. I can remove stuff from favorites. And I can go through and find more things and more things and more things. And I can refresh and I can go back and forward and everything is working as expected. All right, great. Cool. So we're done. No, I'm just kidding. Let's bump the text on this thing. Also, what is going on here? Why is this red? Whatever. I think it's fine. It's experimental. That's what it is. So there's a bunch of stuff in here. There's a bunch of different directories that get made. Got parcel cache, React Router parcel, all these things. Like in our final implementation, we're not going to have all this. This is just so that we can keep developing the APIs that we plan to land on, but it won't be directly tied to parcel necessarily. Our types, that's normal. Dis, that's normal. And the modules, okay, that's great. Public, nothing in there. Docker is just to build it. We got an env. We got a bunch of, okay, nothing really matters. Nothing's really special in here. We've got our unstable middleware, which is good. And that's about it. So let's just dig into the application itself. Actually, let's go to the routes.ts file. So we've got essentially just 3 routes, very simple, which is nice. We've got our home route, we've got movie, and we've got an actor. So if you're on a movie, you're on movie / whatever the ID is, and then you go to Denzel Washington, now you're on actor / whatever the actor's ID is, which is great. So we got all those, and I've opened up the network. You can see kind of the things that are loaded. So we have the document itself. It's actually like if we go to a movie, cool, we can see like the RSC response. And it's like crazy and undecipherable. All right, good deal. Okay, what do I want to look at first? Let's look at the home page. I don't know if there's a whole lot to the home page. It's just some movies. Actually, let's look at the root. The root is always the best place to look. All right, so the root's got React Router parcels where you can grab the entry.client/server/SSR files to customize them if you don't want to use Express encoded JSON. Yes, those are two different things. So, okay, that makes sense about React Router parcel. Whoops. Those are not what I wanted. React Router parcel. Here we go. Cool, cool. Here's all the RSC entry. Jeez. All right, fun stuff. So all the different entries that we have. Nice. Okay, cool. So that's that piece, and then yeah, the encoded JSON for the RSC format. All right, so we've got a simple layout. There's nothing really special here. This is very normal stuff. We got like a font and pre-connecting and stuff, all the links and whatnot. And we have a header, which this should just be really simple. Yeah, it's just a link that goes to RSC movies. Ryan, how dare you not use href with the slash? How are we going to know that that's type safe otherwise? All right. So there's that. And then we've got this favorites component, which is the thing. Let me also do this so we can kind of look at things side by side. So what did I break? Oh boy. Is it really using the href that broke that? That's crazy. Okay. Well, I'm not going to worry about that. Not right now. I can bring that up to the team later. Okay, so there's the header. So if we delete that, that's this top part. But I guess it didn't go away, so that's super weird. I think HMR might be a little busted on this thing. Yeah, it is kind of busted. All right, that's kind of annoying, but we might have to deal with that. We're definitely still trying to improve it. And then, yeah, we've got the favorites. It's going to be the exact same thing, right? Okay, cool. So refreshing does work. I don't have to restart the dev server. Well, unless I mounted something, I do. Oh my gosh, that's so annoying. Weird. Okay, anyway. And then scroll restoration, that's just a normal thing. And then we have this export function server component. So here we're making everything a server component by exporting this from the root. We could just export this as a default, whatever. And then, oh my gosh. And then these wouldn't all be server components is my understanding of how this works. Man, this thing is going to break a lot, isn't it? This thing is definitely still very experimental. Or there's better first class support for custom backends for specific routes. For example, /API should be a Hono or Fastify app and not be handled by React Router. Yeah, just do that in your Hono app. Just don't set up Homono and then for API, just serve what you want to, and then say for everything else that's not /API, go to React Router, because Hono exists before or Express or whatever exists before you mount your React Router app in that. So I don't think, unless I'm misunderstanding what you're saying, I don't think that's a specific React Router concern. I don't think we need to do anything special for you there. I think you can already do that. Header is a server component, but it should still render / yeah. Oh, okay, got it. I wasn't even thinking about that. I guess everything's a server component because of this. So you're saying I could make this into a use client. That makes sense. So then that makes this a use client. So I could do use effect. And then this will, let me put this in the bottom. Fascinating. All right, so now I'm gonna have to restart this thing so many times. I'm just gonna keep it open because that's gonna keep happening. Well, you do have to import things to actually use them, don't you? Okay, cool. So now this is a use client, so we can use something like use effect. And if I remove that, it will probably blow up, which is fine. And I think this will tell me hey, you can't use effect inside of this. Yeah. The error message isn't perfect, but that's basically what it's saying. Is it's there is no use effect because this is a server component. So you don't have to have it server components all the way from top to bottom, but we are doing that here in the root. We are saying this is server components first, which is the way the React team wants it to work. We allow you to do different things in that, but this is the way that this app is set up. What's up, Sergio? It's fairly complicated to set up a custom server with React Router still. I guess you'll have to explain why that is. I'm not sure if I totally understand that, but that might be another conversation for another day. Okay, cool. So this is a server component, and then we just render whatever we have. So let's go to home and see what else we've got. So we've got, nice. Okay, cool. An array of featured movie IDs. We got should revalidate is set to false, so this will never revalidate even if things change. Okay, cool. And then we've got a movie grid. We got our title, which is just rendering this thing up there. Yeah, and then we've got a movie grid, and each movie grid is probably just like a little, very simple. Yeah, it's just a simple div wrapper with LG grid columns and whatnot. I think that there's a better way to write that. Whatever. I'm not going to worry about Tailwind and Ryan's ability or inability to write it. That's not what we're here for today. Okay, so in movie tile, this is where it gets interesting, where you start seeing some unique stuff. So first, this is still, this is a server component. I think if we exported this as know why that revalidate is false, we're still working on the revalidation story. So first of all, yeah, oh, right, perfect. I was in the right spot. All right, there's some work to do around optimizing revalidation. Currently, the entire page is revalidated after server actions. Because server actions aren't tied to specific routes, our current should revalidate approach feels awkward. So I'm first just saying that because we are going to create a better revalidation kind of at call site API is our plan. I assume he has this here because he's not actually like running any actions per se. Like the only actions he's running is inside of these add to favorites, and those are like server functions is my understanding, and so you don't actually want the entire page to revalidate. Plus on this page, because this is very simple, we're not using a loader or anything, we don't actually have a loader, so I don't even know if we totally need this. It just avoids it like rerunning everything above it whenever an action happens, because there's nothing we need to revalidate. That would be my guess. Oh, and I deleted it. Perfect. All right. So yeah, so the movie tile. The movie tile is probably the most interesting thing in here. So this is also a server function. You can tell it's a server function because an async is there. That's part of it. And then we're actually awaiting a loading of the movie based on the ID, which is pretty cool. Inside of here, I don't think there's a whole lot of interesting stuff in here. There's a link wrapped around each image. So if you go to this, yeah, perfect. Yeah, you can click these, so they're links. So that makes sense. Using the movie ID to go to the correct movie, and then you can get the image source. I wonder what this is. What did Ryan give us here? It's the default fallback. Cool. And then also the movie title, that makes sense. Then we have our add to favorites form, so we'll get to that in a second as well. And we've got our H2, which is just the title, which is also a link, so you could click that as well if you want. And then we've got the abstract. Looks like he's just doing a simple slice if it's too long to shorten it. And then finally the actors. So starring, and he goes through the cast list and makes a link of each of those, and that is an actor link. So we'll also get into what the actor link does, because I think that that's also a server component that does some loading. So this is just using this load from the DB, and just came to say this is way too late. Alan, go to bed. You don't have to watch this. This isn't. You probably have already done all this. This is just me poking around in this repository and seeing what we can see. Okay, so Ryan's got this DB, and this is where you get into kind of some features that we don't have like built into React Router. I think we're gonna try and add some like APIs for this and whatnot, because when you're doing RSC, basically a good example is with RSCs and with like loading inside of a component, you have this issue. You have a couple issues. You have one issue of like there might be multiple. Let's find it's Daniel Radcliffe or Alan Rickman. That's a good one. So Alan, well, yeah, with the actor links. Where's Alan? Yeah, Alan is going to be loaded multiple times. So each of these is like an actor link. So we don't want to refetch the exact same thing multiple times. So you need some sort of solution that batches all the queries that are the exact same. So that's one reason we have this DB. And then there's another, and we're going to get into that. But it looks like he just sets up a database from Better SQLite. Okay, cool. So he's got his batch loader, and then the other one is his, I think it's like his context thing that we'll talk about. Yeah. So he's got async local store. Okay, yeah, he's got a lot of stuff going on here. So we got our DB. If it's in production, we're going to use this. Otherwise, we're just going to use this. That's fine. Normal stuff. Pragma, join mode. Well, okay, it's just preparing some things. preparing. Delete the favorites every time this runs. That makes sense why my favorites keep going away. Then he sets up a context. Okay, we'll figure that one out later. And then he's got this data middleware, which runs something called create loaders. How long is this file? Ugh, like 170. Playing around with it for hours. It's really good, although a bit brittle as it's a custom parcel build. Have fun playing around. Yeah, it definitely it definitely is brittle. I've definitely run into that, but yeah, it is. It's custom and it's a preview for people to learn from. Okay, so he's got this create loaders, which makes sense. So he runs this in the data middleware, and I'm pretty sure this data middleware just run. Yeah, this is at the root. This is why we need the middleware. So we have session middleware and data middleware. That makes sense. So for this data one, whoops, I think I just deleted that. Creates the loaders. So he's got a movie, basically a movie loader, it looks like, and an actor loader. And so that's what we saw here. We saw load.movie with ID. So he's just like setting these up, and it looks like they batch movies. So batch movies. Oh, interesting. Whoa, this is crazy. All right, so it takes a bunch of IDs. What is the batch function? No, let's understand this one first. So it takes a bunch of IDs, placeholders. It joins them. So he's just building out a query. That makes sense. Preparing all blah blah blah. That makes sense. So what does the batch function do? How does it work? What the heck? Where? I swear I didn't make that up, right? Oh, that comes from, okay, that comes from his batch loader. Right, so this must be like create a data loader that will automatically batch queries for records across the application in the same tick of the event loop. Oh, come on, show me did I miss anything? Whatever. So this takes a batcher. All right, let's go look at Ryan's. Little batch loader thing. Okay, so batch loader takes in a function, an async function, and that thing returns things. Okay. So you're creating a function, and so then that function can take in values, and then I think it just, yeah, it automatically dedupes any values that are the same. So it's expecting like a primitive to be the values, which is why these IDs work really well for this situation. And it also looks like it's caching. So that makes sense. So if you run this, it'll load A, B, C, and then it won't load A. It'll automatically dedupe that. And then stuff 2, you're calling that, and it already has A and C. Those are already cached, and so it's only going to be caching this and then returning the rest. So that's all that's going on with this, with this thing. So when he's calling movie tile, when he's calling in movie tile the await load.movie with ID, this is automatically deduping and using the cache when it finds multiple ones. So that's why we can use this safely within the component and do our fetch while render sort of thing with the server components. If we look at the actor link, it's going to be something very similar. It's got an ID and a load with the actor. If there's no actor, we're going to return null. Probably should be whatever. And then yeah, this is just a very simple link with the actor and actor ID. So that's pretty cool that we can actually just like load the actor in here. We can actually get the like fetch by while we're rendering experience again. You could certainly pull all this stuff up into your loader and send it down as loaders if you want, but we're trying to take this as like a very RSC first sort of thing. So that's how that works. Is this pattern useful for any scenario where you don't reuse the same info on one page multiple times? It's useful in the sense that assuming it's caching on your actual server and using a server cache, like you can make it more sophisticated. Actually, that's a good question because I think it's just batching per request. I don't think it's using like an LRU cache at all. If it were using an LRU cache, it's still useful. That's interesting. Let me see. How could I do this? Let me go back to the DB. I want to test something. Batch actors. Okay, so this batches them all together. Yeah. I don't know if there's a good way for me to test what I want to test. That's okay. I guess not, but it doesn't hurt to have this batch loader thing doing. I mean, it does turn it all into one request. So in this case, it's still useful. If you have a bunch of small requests, it batches them all together into one large request. So it's still useful for that, even if you don't have multiple like individual. Yeah, if you don't have like duplicates, I think it's still useful in that sense. But again, yeah, I'm sure we're going to continue exploring how best we want to offer something like this, as well as like I'm sure other people will have solutions and do have solutions. Okay, so the thing I'm actually most interested in is the favorites module from the README request scoped caching to prevent duplicate loads. That makes sense. Okay, so what the heck? I don't know why that's lying to me, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. Okay, so we got all from favorites. So this is also a little loader. I don't know if this one uses batch loader though. That's interesting. Wait, that doesn't exist. How in the world is this working? What the heck? What? Is this just an old module? Am I looking at the wrong thing? Let's go back to home and just see. Movie grid, movie tile. Movie tile has a. Oh, where'd those forms go? Add to favorites form. This is what I want. That must have been something old. Sorry. Okay, cool. Now we've got is session favorite with a movie idea. So this is where we get into the sessions and how those work. So the way this works is pretty simple, right? It's just pulling out a session. And the session that I'm talking about, you should be able to go find in like your application. I think it's just this cookie session. Yeah. So it's this guy. And so once you decode or encode and whatnot, this you can get the ideas of what you've liked. So that's pretty cool. And so you got the session ID, and then you've got to like remove from favorites. Oh my gosh, this gets so nested. Oh wait, so these are in the database as well. Maybe I'm not understanding how this works. Oh, right. Actually, I might not be understanding how this works. This gets all the favorites. So where is this thing used? Let's just look at that one first. So in the favorites bar, this actually gives me all the favorites. It's not going to be in the server. It's going to be in here. This is so hard to read because this is all red and ugly. I don't even know how to look at stuff. This is so different from the usual flow I have going. Okay, so if I add a favorite, why am I not getting any logs? Clearly, I'm not understanding how something works. Okay, well, I guess whatever. Is there like another output I should be reading from? I guess console logging is not going to work very well in this situation. Okay, so this pulls out the favorites from get session favorites, and then it just renders over them, and then there's the favorite link again. So how does get session favorite work? Get session favorite works by calling this session thing and then getting off of it the ID. So this gives me the session ID. So you have to pass the session ID always into these little functions. So get favorite then says, we got the session ID. So in the day, oh, okay. So he's storing your session. Got it. So you have a unique session ID, and then he's using that session and he's looking it up in the actual database itself. And it's saying, give me everything where the session ID is this thing. So give me all of this session's favorites. That makes sense. So it's not just stored in your browser, it's also stored in the DB. And then give me all those IDs. So what we want to see is how's he doing this? How's he doing this session thing and just like pulling a session out of thin air? So the way that we're doing that is we got middleware, we got to create a cookie session, we got some async local storage. So this is pretty fun. So we got to create session cookie storage. This creates the cookie. This is very normal stuff. This comes from React Router. Create session cookie. store. Oh my gosh, I think I spelled it wrong. Yeah, sessions and cookies. So here, you got a nice walkthrough that explains how all this works, how you can set up cookies and session storage and all that stuff. So that's normal. That also was in Remix in the prior two versions. Div, JSON stringify. Yeah, I guess that could work. Sorry, we're going back one step. Mark's helping me figure out a good way to debug while we're in this thing. I mean, it's yeah, no, this is fine. So let's try this and see what happens. Ooh, I'm in the wrong place. Form, blah, 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 blah. Add to favorites button. It's not that. It's, wait, I lost my place. Wherever this is used. Ah, favorites bar. That's what I want. Let's see what that looks like. Might have to refresh this again. What the heck? Am I going crazy? My goodness. Hold on. I'm an idiot. I'm on freaking Ryan's live demo. No wonder I can't see anything. Oh my gosh. Every time. Embarrassing. All right. Cool. Sweet. There we go. There it is. That was so dumb. I can't believe I was just looking at the prod version of this, and that's why I couldn't see things. Great. So favorites is just an array of. Thank you, Mark, for laughing with me. I hope. Oh my gosh, that's so silly. All right, at least like it's not as bad as I thought. I'm just worse than I thought. That's all that happened there. All right, anyway, back to sessions. How do sessions work again? Okay, so you create the cookie session storage. This gives you this thing, this storage, right? You can do a get session, you can do a commit session. So he's got this function that's just doing session context dot get store, and then he's just saying it is what it is. So what is this context? Okay, so this context is just async local storage. That's how, yeah, Ryan likes to do this, and this makes sense. So like async local storage, you kind of, let's just look at it in case people don't know exactly how it works. It's pretty cool, but it's pretty magic as well, a little bit. The console didn't show up because I think I was looking at the wrong thing. We can try it again, just to close close that one up. Back to favorites bar. Right, this is where we were. So let's console log these favorites. So it should just show up in here, and then I'm gonna refresh. I do need some favorites to actually see this. Maybe not. I am on localhost 3000. Let's try it one more time. Probably should have. There we are. Okay, so yeah, now I see them. I think it was definitely because I was on the production, and then there is an issue with like HMR with RSC right now. But these are all things we'll figure out. Yeah. Okay. I think we got that solved, and I think we can put that one to rest. Yeah. Closing the favorites bar. Okay, so sessions. So we have context, async local storage. The way async local storage works, you got to pull it out, obviously. You create a new async local storage. And then, so here's an example where you can like get the store, you get this ID, and then, so that's log with ID, and then you actually have to run it. This is what's interesting. You run it, you give it a value, and then you give it, what is it, a callback? Let me see if this has good signatures on it. Oh, this is actually pretty helpful. This class creates stores that stay coherent through asynchronous operations. Do you give me the signature? I'd like to know what you call these parameters. Whatever. Oh, there's a lot going on here. Okay, I'm not gonna worry about that. But yeah, it creates this big class, so you can run it. You give it the ID, and then you can do all this stuff. And oh man, I'm forgetting. I actually I haven't used async local storage in a second. So here you create it, you run it, you give it a value, and then you give it a callback, which does stuff. So what does the callback do? That's snapshot. Capture the current execution context, right? And returns a function that accepts a function. a function as its argument. Whenever the return function is called, it calls the function passed to it within the captured context. The stuff like, it's just not the way I program. It really bends my brain to think about it. It's not recursive exactly, but it feels very recursive. Fascinating. Okay, so the way it's working here, we're gonna try and work through this and understand this as best we can. So we create the context here, and we really only call the context in a couple places. So one, we're calling it here just to get the value. What's the value that's passed in? It's the first thing that's passed in when you call run. So it's saying like, hey, this is your thing. Whenever you're in the context of like the async local storage running, this is your value. And then you have to kick off some sort of process. So in our case, what we can kick off is we're actually just kicking off like the next action, because this is a middleware. So the way it works is we're kicking off the next, we wait for that to happen, and then we actually have to commit the session, which is pretty wild. So we're like committing it in here so that whenever we access it, it already is committed. Whenever we like run things, it'll commit automatically. And then what do we resolve? Because we have to return a new promise from the middleware. So this is returned with the response so that if there's any other middlewares, when it calls next, it has the next response. You always have to return the response from your middleware if you're like doing this sort of a wait next thing. So if this is confusing to you, it also is confusing to me. I think we're going to continue to create wrappers around this. I have two good resources for you. So the first would be React Router. We don't actually have, embarrassing, we don't have docs for middleware because it's still unstable, and we didn't want to document a bunch of unstable stuff and then have to like rewrite it or whatever. So the unstable docs are in the changelog. So that's the first place to look. And the next place to look, I don't know if Sergio is still on here, but Remix Utils. There's some really, really great middleware examples down here. And from here on out, I would just like look through these, read these. These have really great, like here's a session middleware that they've created. So this is pretty nice. There's a lot of really great stuff in here as well. So I would definitely look at these patterns. The thing with middleware is it's very much kind of a recipe driven thing. A lot of use cases are, at least. So once you have a middleware set up, you don't totally have to understand how it works, because it's just set it up once and then use it sort of situation. So that's really what's being created here. Is basically Ryan wants the ability to get his session context wherever he wants, basically, because he is running all his requests inside of an async local store. And where is this actually called? These are set up at the very top. So we have our session middleware and we have our data middleware. All right, hopefully that made some sense. Using get store, it's like React context where the callback is that. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. The callback is the context for provider's children. That's right. Yeah. So that's like the process that we're running. Does it work in serverless environments? So yes, it works in serverless environments that run node like what, 20 or 22 plus. The thing is though, you have to remember is like the async local storage is going to be, it's going to like run for that specific like serverless environment or whatever you have, but that's like going to handle your entire request. You're mapping your entire request. So I think that's all right. If you're trying to share state between like different requests across different users and stuff, then you'd run into problems. But yeah, that's not really the right solution for this. Anyway, I'm probably not the best person to ask about this because I haven't thought about it too much. But I'm pretty sure it's fine because you're not like splitting your application across multiple things. You're just, each request is handled by a different serverless function potentially. It works in Worker too. That would make sense too. Yeah, that's right. Worker does have support for async local storage these days now. The wait next is basically everything on the server is running within the context. Exactly. Yeah, they polyfilled it. That makes sense. Yeah, exactly. Mark's right. Mark should have just done this this live stream. Cool. All right, so that's how the session is like getting initialized and also committed. That's really important. I didn't want to skip over this, but like here we're just actually committing the set cookie with the storage.commit session. So we get the session here. If it doesn't have it, add it. Just give it a random UUID, no big deal. And then yeah, add it to our headers, and we're good to go. So then inside of favorites, so we can get all the favorites here. This runs our database and gets all the favorites. We can also, check if something's a favorite. These are just all, select little like very simple queries where we just check if stuff's in there and return whatever we want, and then removing, that'll delete it from there, etc., etc. So the session is just holding a unique identifier. So that's pretty simple. So then to add to, is this where we're at? I don't think that was where we were at yet. We were on favorites bar. So that's how we get the favorites and know what they all are. Okay, cool. So how do we actually like add a favorite? Favorite button, favorite form. Adds a favorites form. Okay, so first we have to check whether or not the thing is actually liked, which makes sense. And that's just a simple, simple check. Does all the stuff we were just looking at. If it is liked, okay, we just pass it into here. That makes sense. And then, so that's what this button is. And so this form is like each of these little guys, isn't it? Cool. So we've got our form. Action, JavaScript, throw error, new error, React form was sounding, whoa, this is wild. Okay. And then we've got our hidden inputs. So we've got, it looks like this probably gets injected. We've got an ID and an intent to say whether or not it should be a remove or it should be an add. And then we've got our action. We'll look at the action in a second. Then we've got this button. So let's look at this button to see what it is. So it uses use form status. So that comes from React DOM. Which this, one thing I really don't like about this hook is that it has to be used within a form. So if you wanted to show some like pending state outside your form, I don't know, you do something else. I think you use form action state or whatever. But anyway, so when you're inside of a form, you can pull out whether or not your form is pending, is in the process of pending. So that's what we're doing here. I don't know if you can get anything else from this. You can get the action, the data, and some other things. What's funny about this though is this is the first hook I've seen where they break from their tupleness. It's like use form action. Is that what it's called? Use action state. I don't know. They've got a bunch. I don't care that much. But anyway, that's interesting that they actually are naming these variables now. So we could get the action, the data, the method. We just want the pending for now. And so we say if it's pending, don't, basically prevent the default of the onClick. That makes sense. And if it's pending, oh my gosh, if it's pending and it is liked, oh, this is lovely. Then it should say removing, otherwise adding. And then if we're no longer pending and it's liked, you should be able to remove or add to favorites. So this is a very, very simple UI. It's not like the most sophisticated, coolest of optimistic updates, but it works. So that's how that works. Nothing that interesting in there. So how does this action work? So this update favorites, this is a server action. So, it's a server action because it says use server at the top, which is really fascinating because we're already in the context. Oh, wait, are we though? Hold on. Do we ever use client in this thing? Yeah, we do for that button. That makes sense because you need this pending. Yeah, so this is JavaScript. This is the only client we have is this actual button, just so that we can have that dynamic, like removing pending sort of thing going on. I was just catching up on those comments. Okay, cool. So yeah, this is a server action. So the way it works is it just takes in form data. It looks like automatically. Let me get these like top and bottom, maybe. This might be kind of weird. So you pass it in to your action, and then that means that it can take in the form data, and then it can get that ID and the intent. So it knows which ID you have, if you're adding or if you're removing, and then you can call add session favorite, which gets your session using the async local storage and automatically commits it and everything. And then you call this add favorite or this remove favorite, which takes your session ID and the movie ID and does some checks and then does some DB work on your SQLite database. Oh my gosh, I didn't mean to open that. And I think that's it. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so I think I understand how this app works. It's pretty simple. I think we've seen just about everything. We've seen all these things. So the add to favorite has a button, a form, an update favorites function. I don't know if this can be inlined quite yet, but eventually you would be able to take all of this and like inline it inside of your form if you wanted to. I think Parcel is working on that as a support that is like a React feature. That should be supported by your bundler. The actor link we went over, the favorite link we went over, the favorites bar we went over the header, went over the movie grid, and we went over the movie tile. I think so. Yeah. And I guess the movie tile is probably used on. Let's go look at our routes in the movie. Oh, the movie's a little bit different. It's got its own kind of thing going. So if we go to this, let's close this guy. Alice in Wonderland. And close this one. Yeah, you got a server component with some loader data. So this one's interesting because it's actually using a loader. Oh, okay, cool. This is a good example. So you can still use loaders with your server components if you want. So this is a good example of like how server components basically work. So because we're doing this export async function server component, even though this is an actual route, and you know it's a route because in our routes.cs file, it's a route. So this is a server component, and if I made this a client component, this would completely blow up because this is a server component and this is a server component. So let's comment these out. I think this one is too. Yeah, let's comment these out. And we're just going to play around with some of these APIs just to make sure I completely understand them and see if any questions arise. Okay, so this looks like it's working. That's great. Okay, so now my HMR, my HMR works on this page very, very well. Lies, it doesn't. All right. Weird. Also gonna check, make sure no one has any questions. Use server means make this function RPC. Right, yeah, thank you. Use client means bundle this component in the client. So yeah, Mark is kind of, at least I saw this on the React, was it the React blog? When they kind of shared about, was it this thing? Hold on. I think it might have been this one, RSC. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was in the Reacts docs. Probably doesn't matter too much what I'm trying to say, but yeah, there's this idea. Hooks. Oh my gosh, hold on. React server. Here we go. I don't know where they talk about that, but anyway, that is the idea of like, yeah, the use server creates like an RPC, like endpoint essentially, and then use client makes like a little island where that thing will be hydrated. And so here it's like, okay, let's say we wanted this whole thing to be hydrated. Well, we can't do that because we have these this actor link and this favorites form that are not client components. They are still server components. So we can't just turn this whole thing into a client component. But now I can because I've commented them out. Okay, let me see if you had anything else you were saying. Do server functions pass through middleware? I don't think so. Or yes, no, sorry, I do think they do. Server functions. No, wait, that's a really great question. I don't know. We can try it. So the question would be, but we also have, I wonder if, man, that's a really great question. Let's see what happens. Okay, so here's my middlewares. Let's just make a middleware here. Yeah, sure, your middleware. And then stuff, and then here's the next function. So yeah, we can just return that. All right, let's see what happens. So if yeah, okay, so my middleware is running, and then I can go, every time I go through something, it runs middleware. Okay, so I'm gonna clear this. I'm gonna hit add to favorite. Yeah, it does run my middleware. Unless it's like refreshing this whole page, in which case, no, it's still running the middleware. Yeah, I think. Or it's either revalidating everything, and because I'm just running through each of the routes, the middleware is rerunning, or it actually is running through the middleware. I think it's probably what I said first, of it's just triggering the whole thing to rerun. Let's go to, what am I on? I'm on the actor page. So I want to do this, so no revalidating. Okay, it's still running the middleware, so it seems like it still runs through middleware in some way or another. Inline use server just got merged into Parcel yesterday. Okay, cool. Thank you for confirming that. It's time for my API nits. I would like to either be able to one, access request and context in the server component props, or two, return JSX from my loader without needing to export a component. So I'm pretty sure two you can do, unless I'm missing something. I'm gonna try it in just a second. But yeah, I think you can return JSX from a loader without needing to export a component. Well, oh, I see what you're saying. You just want, no, wait. Interesting. Okay, let's see. Let me write it out without judging first. Remove this guy. Okay, so we are in the actor link. So you're saying, so here I can, let's just turn this into a normal, I don't know. Actually, let me keep that signature. So get rid of this, and then we're gonna just call this like page. Oh wait, I can't do this. I'm on the wrong page. Shoot. What was I trying to do? Was I on the movie page? Was this the one I wanted to do it in? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so if I'm on a specific movie page, what the heck? Why won't you let me do this? Oh, what am I loading? Oh my gosh. Build filled. Why? That's so annoying. That shouldn't fail. That should be perfectly allowed. Ah, this is so annoying. I can't really test what I wanted to test. Whatever. Let's just make a new. We'll make a new component and we'll kind of mess with that. All right. Let's call it route. Uh, all right. An export a function called page. We're just gonna return this. My goodness. Do I have to do this? Why is this not working? What am I missing? Missing a default. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Thanks. Oh my gosh. What is going on? Can I not do this because the root is a server component? I clearly don't understand this. Obviously that can't be the case. I'm sure I've just got something really dumb set up. Okay. What is going on? The route should be blah. That's normal. And routes / blah.tsx. Yeah, no, I agree. Don't use client, but I can't get anything to work. Okay, so that works now. That's good. I think it was just, yeah, something cached wrong. My goodness. Okay. Is this still working though? Is this automatically a client component? Yay. Okay, cool. All right, so that's what I want to see. So if we're doing an export default, so regular route without the export, like server function export, then it's a client component. So now from here we can export a functional loader. Yeah, whatever. I don't want to do that. Let's just set all this up. Woo, woo, woo. Hold on, opening all the wrong things. All right, so now I should be able to return from here. I don't know, some like a component. This is a dumb example, but whatever, that's fine. And then from here, I can just return that, and then say like blah. Hey, all right, great. So this is a server component automatically. So we've added that for the like incremental adoption that the loader itself can return a server component. So that's kind of the way we initially wanted to do this. So if I understand what Mark is saying, number 2, return GSX from my loader without needing to export a component. So you're basically saying I want this to be a thing, which I guess is fine. It feels like we, though, have to then do some magic to determine whether or not what you're turning from your loader is just now remove. Yeah. But yeah, we have to do something about like if loader return is just JSX, then this is like a server component. And I think that's just a little bit, personally, I think that's a little too like magical, because we already have ways that you can return all sorts of stuff as just your default. So like, yeah, you're right. We've got, I guess, a little bit of boilerplate. What? This should for sure work. Am I forgetting something? I don't know. It hasn't been a good session for me, so probably no. Okay, that did work. So this is the boilerplate that we have right now. If you really wanted, you could also do this. You know, and then you could really make this. And then you could export that from somewhere else. And then you're good to go. I think that I hear what you're saying. I don't think it's worth it though for the amount of magic that we have to do and the amount of like checking that we have to do. It's just like it's like an extra edge to the API when like you're very, very rarely dealing with this. And if you really just want a server component, you just do this. And then you just return whatever you want to return. So that's my thought there. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. Appreciate the thought. Okay, number 1, access request and context in the server component props. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. I feel like we did talk about context. So I don't know the full story there. I wonder if we have server component. No, we don't. I assume we're just using component props. So yeah, all you have access to is the loader data matches params and the action data. I agree. I think that would be nice. If you could have the context here. The only issue, I guess that's not a problem. Yeah, that'd be nice to get that, and then the request as well. I do think that this gets back to, I think Sergio has some pretty nice things here. Let me remember. Context storage middleware. Yeah, I think you could do this. So I think he's got these like get context, get request things. I bet you could use these. Should we try it? Do we want to go here? Or is that is this gonna, am I gonna crash and burn? What about giving me request and context and route? Yeah. Yeah, I think that would be ideal as well. I think it would be nice to add these. So I think that as we're going, I can ask where we're at on that and see what if the team has considered it. I'm sure they have, because I know that like Ryan obviously had to set up all his own context stuff. I think there might be some challenges, but I don't think it's like out of the question because it definitely has been discussed. So I'm curious about that. I'll look into that. In the meantime, I would look into something like what Sergio's got set up here with his context storage middleware. So basically, you create, you use unstable, create context storage middleware. So you get your context storage middleware, get context and get request, and then you set this up, and then you can call them. All right, I'm gonna do it. You guys convinced me. No one was fighting for this, but I'm gonna go for it. Let's try it. All right. npm install. Good. I was hoping that would break. All right. Oh shoot, pnpm. Gosh. Rm package log. Oh, there's none. Okay. Will that work? Hey, all right. Let's just set up inside of modules. Oh yeah, we got lots of stuff going on. We'll just whatever. We will call this context storage.ts. Oops, that's not what I want. I'm gonna copy what Sergio created here. And so yeah, here I need to set this up in the root. Boom, boom. All right, and then we get the get requests and the get context. So now let's just see in here. I'm going to turn this back into, okay, it is a server component. That's great. So we can delete all this stuff. Let's delete all this stuff. And then we're going to, yeah, let's just try this. Oh, gosh, go away. Oop. Is that running? All right, great. And then finally, I do not know what happened. I don't actually, I want the request. Let's just pull something off of it. Feel like that didn't work. Oh wait, there it was. Yeah, it did work. That's awesome. Let's also do this. Oh my gosh, I'm destroying everything. No, go away. No, go away. All right, jeez. I promise I do know how to program. I've done it before. Hey, that's super cool. What? You can't stringify a request? What would be the way to print this? I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of cool. So in the meantime, you can use that. You can use that from Remix Utils, and it works pretty well. So now get context. We can do something crazy like this. Well, actually, let's keep that one. Text dot get. I gotta pass. I gotta create like a context. So it's a const like my context equals create context from. Oh my gosh, from this one. And then export function loader. This is very contrived. No, I don't want to do any of that. I'm just going to turn null. And then here I want to get the context. Ooh. Context dot set my context to be new time data now. We'll say you have to be a number. And then down here, go away. We can do all of this, and then we can do this. And then we can restart everything because I definitely blew it all up. No! Where is it? Why didn't that work? I don't know. I was very close. Let's try this really quick. What the heck? Is it because I have this loader? This really shouldn't be a problem. Nothing is showing up. I've completely broken something and I have no idea what it was. Dang, that's a bummer. You know, it's so close, it's so far away. But it did work. This thing is just a little bit finicky. Why in the world? That's so frustrating that this literally just worked. And now it's like completely busted. Where's my hello? Match leaf route at location blah does not have an element or component. This means it will render an outlet with a null value by default, resulting in an empty page. I feel like you don't know what you're talking about. Whatever. Very sad. That like almost worked super well. Okay, whatever. I think I'm done though, because I can't get this to work anymore. But there you go. That's RSC preview. Yeah, if you have any questions, reach out to me or the team. That's not it. Reach out to me or the team. You can find us on the Discord or on the Twitters or the Blue Skies or whatever, or you can probably email me if you want. That's probably the worst way to reach me though. But yeah, feel free to reach out for questions. Play around with this yourself, get an idea for it. Again, this is like experimental, as you can see. There definitely are some flaws in it. It's not perfect, particularly just around like the bundling story and HMR and stuff like that. But the idea is we're trying to get this out here to show like bundler authors and like the React team and stuff how we're thinking about this, as well as our users, of how we think that RSC can be adopted very incrementally. So very exciting stuff. I'm excited to see all sorts of stuff that people do with this and try with this, and all the learnings that come along. But yeah, hope this was fun. Hope you learned something, and yeah, reach out if you build anything yourself and want to show it off. All right.